Okay, so last time we met in the studies of the Medium's book, we start when about halfway on chapter 9 with the haunted houses or haunted places. I'm sorry, and it's a topic that Kardec could not just ignore, right? In the study of mediumship, the topic of haunted houses really entices the masses, the general public, right? Entices the imagination and the curiosity. And it was not different the type of Kardec, and it's not different nowadays today. At least is my impression that most things that you see on TV that talks about spirituality, of communication of space, of spirits, is dealing with this topic of haunted places, places that are inhabited by spirits. So Kardec tries to do in this chapter is separate facts from fiction, is to separate true spiritual manifestations from our imagination. And many things associated with our imagination that was created through time that becomes like folk tales that becomes so impregnated in the culture, in certain cultures, that it mingles with the truth. It becomes it's like you lie so often that your lie becomes a truth, right? Which of course is not true. But that's what Kardec tries to do in this chapter, and he does that by interviewing spirits. He doesn't say in this chapter specific to give a name of a spirit that was used in the interview. So I make the assumption against my assumption that was more Q&A placed at the style of the Spirit's book that received many answers and make a collection of those answers and provide to us the ones that he judged be the one most valued, right? Since he didn't give any specific name. And he starts by saying that one communication is the manifestation exists, okay? And exists everywhere. Through those manifestations, they are spontaneous, not evoked. And this is important because if you're going to say the place is being inhabited by spirits, you should not have to evoke a spirit to appear to give a communication. The spirit would have to be there. Otherwise, it would not be 100 places, right? And through the interview, the questioning of Kardec up to question 7, where we stopped, that's what we learned. That less evolved spirits may be attached or attracted to individuals, things, places. You have to remember the spirit is just us with our physical body. Don't we like some places better than others? Don't we seek to follow some individuals because we believe they have something to offer us in terms of intellectual abilities or any other thing? So spirits may also be attracted or be attached to some individuals, some things, and some places. The less evolved the spirits may find themselves attracted or attached to places. That doesn't mean that they are evil. And the spirits want to make sure that the fact that the spirits may inhabit in a specific place and may manifest themselves in that place in a way that it's sensed by our physical senses, or by mediums who are able to acknowledge those manifestations. Doesn't mean that the spirit has any evil intention or any evil desire. It's just spirits practicing their abilities. But again, that would be for less evolved spirit, because more evolved spirit would not be attached or attracted to anything regarding to materiality, unless if they are trying to teach us something, unless it's instructive, as we're going to see in the next chapter, where Kardec deals with communications. So you make an assumption that in general, and again in general, I'm going to say that always, spirits that are attracted or attached to some specific places are not very much evolved. And this myth that there is predilection to ruins, to old falling apart places, to abandoned places, that's just a myth. That's not a fact. The Spirit tells that here to us. And much of the contrary, the spirits tell us that the spiritus enjoys the presence of humans, and they actually prefer inhabited places. So the idea of, as most tales, folk tales, product of creation, imagination of artists, writers of different types, always place the spirits manifestations in ruins, in abandoned places, and places falling apart. That is very far from the truth. Much of the contrary, spirit would prefer inhabited places. But Kardec insists on this point, and the Spirit tells us, well, there is always exception to the rules. It's in the fact that amongst us, incarnated here, are those who seek to be distant from other humans, to seek to isolate themselves. So the same happens with the spirits. There are those who run away as much as possible. Then the spirits may look for places where there is no humans, and then they will, this place may be on an old abandoned place, but not necessarily. And then I put a question that those who avoid human presence, those who don't want incarnate around them, when they see the presence of those incarnate, would they try to promote spiritual manifestation as with the intention of scare those incarnate away? And those would be usually the manifestation that people would notice to being is a physical phenomenon that everybody can witness, or a type of manifestation that only more ostensive mirrors can see. I put the question mark there. And the question of time. Spiritual manifestation was systematically being placed at night. There is the midnight hours, the kinds of things. There is some spiritualist movement that says between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. is the time that the spirits are mostly active, and all kinds of things like that. The spirits here in this book also demystify this concept. The spirits does not have really a necessity to measure time as we measure it. And that will lead to item 7, where we stopped last week. And anybody has any questions, we can continue here. No? So, Soraya, you read for us? Are you able to read, Soraya? Is that okay?
Yes, everything's okay. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Okay. Number 7. What is the origin of the idea that spirits prefer to appear at nighttime? The impression made on people's imaginations by darkness and silence. All such beliefs are superstitions that the rational knowledge of Spiritism must abolish. The same applies to the belief in propitious days and hours. You must realize that the influence of nighttime, of midnight, has never existed except in fables.
Oh, sorry.
If that is so, then why do certain spirits announce that they will arrive and manifest themselves at midnight and on particular days, such as Friday, for example? There are spirits who take advantage of human credulity for the fun of it. It is the same reason that some say they are the devil or give themselves other devilish names. Show them that you are not that stupid and that you will not return.
Thanks.
Okay.
So again, the idea of measurement of time is not necessary for the spirits. But we need to consider two things here regarding time. One, it's our time. Most of us work, have to take care of family, have things to do during the day. In general, again, it's not a rule, but in general. At the time that we are free to seek to explore spiritualist topics is usually when you have free time, when you took care of the business that you need to take care of first. And that, in general, to be at night time. And it is also at night time when we're completely at rest that you gives more freedom to your imagination. You give even more freedom to you to expand your horizons in terms of thinking and going from something more concrete, more material, your business, your family, your sports, whatever you do, to something that goes a little farther from the material when you may enter in a more spiritual kind of thought. They're usually going to be at night. So I think there is a common sense that most spiritual things would happen in the evenings at night when we are more free to do so. We are not busy to our work. We're not busy driving our car. We don't want to start thinking of spiritual driving when you're walking on the streets, right? It's usually when you be at home, at rest, but that's nothing to do with night itself. It has to do with our state of mind. Another thing to be considered here when Kardec says, ask why some spirits gives date and time to meet. The midnight is, of course, a myth, but we have to keep in mind that to say we are busy, the spirits are also busy. When we read the books of André Luiz, we see that they have things to do. That they're occupied doing the things. They're not there just waiting for us to call them, and they are at disposition 24/7, 24/7 our time, of course. And if you're going to evoke a spirit, the spirit may say, okay, no, we can't now, but you'll be free at certain time. It may be for necessity of that spirit. It may be for our necessity. That's when we are able to interact. So the question of timing is significant because of we being business, we have being busy, we having things to do, and so does the spirits as well. But we definitely have to rule out and demystify the idea of only at night or this preferred days of the week. I don't know why Friday. I never heard anything about Friday to see this for the first time. But even with dates, right? Among all All Saints Day and some special dates, or the date of the anniversary of the death of someone, things like that. This needs to be demystified. Questions? Okay, 8.
Okay, number 8. Do spirits have any preference for visiting the graves in which their bodies lie? The body was no more than a garment. They have no more preference for the envelope in which they had to suffer than a prisoner for his chains. Being remembered by persons dear to them is the only thing they value. Are prayers that are offered over their graves more pleasing to them? And do they attract them more than prayers offered elsewhere? As you know, prayer is an evocation that attracts spirits. The more fervent and sincere prayer is, the more effect it will have. Thus, beside the grave of some venerated person, people concentrate harder, and the preservation of pious relics is a witness to the affection given to the spirit and to which it is always sensitive. It is always the thought that acts upon a spirit, not material objects. Such objects have more influence upon the one who prays for fixing the attention upon them rather than upon the spirit.
Thanks. When Kardec says over here that the physical body is no more than a garment that no longer serves us and it's supposed you don't care for it anymore, we understand that he's mentioning a little more evolved spirits. I like to believe that we are above that already. That when we leave this instrument behind, you say, thank you very much, it was great using you, you provide me, it was very useful for me, but now I don't care anymore, it's done, it's over. In another dimension now and don't need this anymore. I like to believe that all of us are at that stage right now. But unfortunately, there are many who are not. There are many that doesn't even understand that there is another dimension of our existence. What happens when they die? If the only thing they believe is that physical material instrument that's now in the process of decaying. So some spirits will be attached, attracted to that decaying physical body. Hopefully not us anymore. But the more evolved spirits will be gone doing other things. And all of us, incarnate and discarnate, are attracted through thought. Since the spirits communicate through thought and don't have this physical body that requires physical senses, the spirits are attracted through thought. And a prayer, Kardec was is an evocation that attracts the spirit. So every time that you pray for your loved one who is now in the spiritual world, chances are that will attract that spirit, that the spirit will try to come to wherever you are. Now, if you are in the cemetery because you believe that spirits attracted that physical body, the spirit will go to that cemetery. If you're at home, you're there. But what gives value to your prayer, to your evocation, as Kardec calls it here, or the spirits, I'm sorry, calls it here, is the depth of your sentiments, right? Is how much you put yourself to it, is how much is coming really from your heart, that you attract the spirits more than anything else. You know, the more fervent, sincere the prayer is, the more effect you have. Then you'll really be able to attract. Now, what leads me to have a more fervent or sincere prayer? That may vary in according to my culture, in according to my understanding of spirituality, if I am still, I'm not gonna say the word still, but maybe if I have the concept that using, I don't know, candles or being in the site of the grave with flowers and light a candle, that really enhances my prayer, my ability to project my best sentiments in prayer, that will be more effective. So all those things may help us, the incarnate, to elevate our thoughts, to open up our sentiments in a way that that moment will be more meaningful. If that's what helps us, then that's what helps us. It's okay, but not necessarily the spirit. If you're able to elevate your thoughts, to really open your heart in prayer, in the bathroom, in your house, in your living room, at the beach, you will have the same effect as if you are at a gravesite. Any question, comments there?
I think it's important to reinforce here the idea of that Kardec post at the end, the Spirit's post at the end, right? That if it helps us to focus or to elevate our thoughts or to concentrate, then it can be of use, right? Which is one thing that we always reinforce, because there are, many beliefs and religions and use objects, right? Candles and images, and it's been something that has been used forever. So the idea that we are going to get rid of everything and focus only on our thoughts, yes, it's the right idea, but we cannot impose these ideas to anyone, because people that are still comfortable in lighting candles, in carrying objects, in staying attached to important things that helps them elevate their vibrations, that's perfectly fine. The problem is when these objects, without the objects, you cannot. So that's become a problem. But, out of understanding and respect for other beliefs and other practices, we have to understand the necessity that they have to use objects and accept that it's their path, it's their own way of dealing with spiritual things, and we let time and knowledge to come to everybody, and eventually we will all understand better the concept of connecting mentally to the spiritual world instead of through objects.
Yeah, it's very important to make sure that we are not saying that it's wrong to go to the cemeteries and it's wrong to pray at the gravesite, that it's wrong to light candles, to hold to a crystal. There is no wrong in none of those. As a science, Spiritism explains how the communication between incarnate and discarnate happens, and explains that those material things are not necessary, but it's not wrong to use them. And even individuals who know that may still be somewhat tied up to this idea, may like to light a candle, may believe that the candle has something good to say. There's nothing wrong with it. But the Spiritism, as a science, has put the facts without any myth and without any any fantasy to it. That's silly, but it's absolutely nothing wrong. Even if, for us who know, if you like to light a candle, or even if, I'm thinking over here, even if we here understand this very well, but let's assume that we think, let's say, for example, my grandmother, which it's not the case at all, but I think my grandmother would like that. That my grandmother, the way she had her religiosity, her idea of spirituality, was always attached to lighting a candle, something like that. And even though I know that is not necessary, I think that would benefit her, that she would like it, can do it. Maybe not. Maybe once she went, when she crossed the ocean, understood right away that it's not necessary. But if I think that would be beneficial to her, I can do it. It's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong to it with it. But as a science, Spiritism explain how the process of communication happens, and it's via thought. And when we are received to evoke, then is the purity of our sentiments that will generate those thoughts in a prayer that will reach those individuals.
I recently did a study candles for a presentation on another book study that we have, and candles have been used, or light had been used forever, right? And in the ancient times, it was used to illuminate the path of the dead and attract the presence of the gods. And then in ancient Egypt, they were used to not only to light the way for the discarnate, but also to prevent evil spirits and protect the living. Tombs and temples are often decorated with lamps and torches, creating a sacred and welcoming atmosphere for the gods and the dead. In early Christianity, candles symbolize Christ, the light of the world, right? And since the 4th century, became a liturgic part in the masses, in vigils and rituals for the dead. So, we've been using that forever. We cannot just forget that it exists or discard it, right? In spiritualism, it's used as a vibrational channel to attract, harmonize, and symbolizes intention. Just a side note here on candles.
Right, that's good. And we see all the demonstrations say it's to help us, the incarnate, to be able to elevate ourselves and have the best possible prayer or evocation that you are seeking at that moment. And again, nothing wrong with that. Number 9.
Okay, number 9. Then the belief in haunted places would not appear to be completely erroneous, correct? We have stated that certain spirits may be attracted to material things and can therefore be attracted to certain places in which they appear to take up residence until the circumstances that have drawn them there no longer exist. What circumstances could so draw them? Their affinity for some of the people who frequent such places or the desire to communicate with them. However, their intentions are not always so praiseworthy. When evil spirits are involved, they may seek revenge against certain individuals with whom they have some complaint. Having to remain in a determined place may also be for some a punishment that has been imposed, especially if they have committed a crime there, of which they will constantly be reminded.
Okay. So Kardashian asks, well, if spirits inhabit places, then we then we could affirm that haunted place exists. Oh, if you're gonna use that term, as every place is haunted then, right? Our house is haunted, our spirit center is haunted. Everywhere that you go is very haunted because there is spirits everywhere. Now, some spirits may manifest where they are for different reasons. Some may be just frivolous and wants to have fun. We're going to see that next chapter. Some are there not out of frivolity, but on a mission to seek revenge from someone that they have some quarrel with, and this someone would be incarnate. Some are there, and we see that in the book of Kardec. What's the name of the book again? Heaven and Hell, in the part of the suffering spirits. The spirits who commit the crime remain attached to the site of crime, so that saying the criminal was returns to the site of the crime is very much true. And they stay there because the guilt conscience keeps them as a prisoner of that event, not necessarily the place. But the event happened in that place, so they stay in that place. And their suffering, their guilt, their torment may be perceived by individuals who feels, oh, this place is haunted. There is something over here that is, or makes me feel, gives me chills, make me feel horrible. These are all possibilities. So there are places in which spiritual manifestation may happen in a stronger way than more sensitive individuals, not necessarily mediums, just those sensitive, those that feel that energy is there and feel something's wrong here, they may label this place as haunted places. Those are facts that the science of spiritism explains to us. Comments, questions?
I think we have to remember the movie The Others, right? For those that have seen it, now it's a movie that was, I don't know, 20 years ago. The spirits, I believe everybody has seen it or have heard of it. The spirits that are in a way haunting the house are really spirits that didn't know that they were on the spiritual world, right? So for them, the houses still belong to them, and the living ones were the intruders, which is a good example of the knowledge and understanding, or lack of knowledge of understanding, that spirits may have of their present state, right? And also we should remember this Fox sisters, right? When it all started there in a so-called haunted house, well, actually was an individual that was killed there in the house, and his body was hidden there, and he was a merchant that walked from house to house to sell things, right? I forgot the name in English. And the spirit, he stayed there in the house because he didn't know any better, right? So he started trying to communicate, and it all started there with the noises, and one of the sisters decided to engage with the spirit, and the spiritualist movement started there, right? So haunted house, in a sense of there was someone that was killed there and stay there, right? For lack of knowledge of the spirit to move on, or orchestrated by the spiritual world, because it was there. Everything was going to start. That we don't know, but it's these are just some side notes on this presence of spirits in residences.
And Anna raised her hand just before, just as a thing. This was also an spirit who is still attached to its physical body.
Yeah.
Anna?
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Just wanted
Hi.
to ask something. My family is from this very small town in Brazil, and we often, when I was a child, we would go and stay in our grandparents' house, and there was always a conversation around, oh, I've seen this dead lady, I've seen this dead lady. So at some point, everybody in the family has seen the dead lady in that house. And as I was a child, I didn't see anything. As I got older, then I started fearing. I was very afraid of seeing things. And when I got to mature age, that is actually when I started seeing things. But then when I started studying Spiritism, it didn't make any difference anymore. And then I stopped seeing things, actually. Um, so I wonder to what extent it is one, perhaps, I'm sure to some extent it's some figure of our imagination too, perhaps, but to what extent is actually aligned to our vibrations as we hear so much, or even just the fact that because we are afraid, and depending on the kind of spirit that is there, they just want to fuss with us, they just want to play. And then you really perhaps attract if there's anything there to see. So could it be that it also is related to uh, your mindset, your vibration that you're able to see or more? I know, of course, there's a particular need for you to be a medium to see it in the first place, but could it be that there's something more that you will see more because you're inviting it, or you will see less because you perhaps don't really pay attention much because it doesn't matter. You're focused on something else more elevated or a different kind of things that you're expecting to see.
Yeah, so I think all the above would be my answer if you put that in multiple choice. Imagination may play a big role in that. One person start talking that I see this and I see that and creates a whole scenario, and someone really gets engaged mentally in that presentation given by that person, so much so that it starts to put him or herself as a part of that event. Oh, I see it too. I see that too. So that may play a big role in that. And not that I am skeptical, as John and I was talking about that the other day. Of course, I believe the spirits I know, not believe I know, but I'm the one who will rule out everything else before I really consider or accept there was indeed a spiritual event that happened. I have to rule out everything first. Okay? So in this particular case, I'll do the same thing. Rule out the imagination of the people, but I would not take the possibility that everyone who says that they saw, they really saw it. That they saw because the spirits started living in that place. Maybe other spirits like the movie that John just said, that they live in that house. That's the place where they live because they want, because they don't know any better, because they're extremely attached to it, or because they're extremely attached to some people living in that house. And those seeing mediums will see it. Children are often protected. That their mediumship put on a hold until they mature a little bit more before they start seeing things, or when they see things, they are so much in between the two words yet that they don't even consider as seeing something exceptional. It's just they have the imaginary friends when they have a dialogue, when they have able to describe the dress of the imaginary friend. It's just because they're not still very totally immersed in physicality yet. In when it comes to mediums, assume that medium has ability to see. Sometimes it's a call on individual who doesn't know anything about spiritism. They will start seeing things as an invitation for them to seek to understand, seek help. And we had cases of that. We had in our center, individuals who come to us and saying, I see things, I hear things, do that, and then they start to understand the process that it is, and things goes away. Individuals that were invited to be part of the mediumship meetings, and nothing happens to them anymore. What they needed was to be educated. Sometimes they weren't educated, then they are able to use that mediumship in a way that it's no longer something that bothers them, that is a disturbance, but something productive in the exercise of the mediumship as an instrument for charity and for learning also. But what Spiritism offers to us is exactly the education of what we are, of our possibilities, and if we have that mediumship, it was given to us for a purpose, and we need to educate ourselves to use it in accordance with the intention to which it was provided to us. Some individuals have very difficult mediumships. If you're not educated, become a tremendous disturbance. You know, many examples. I think Divaldo Pereira Franco was very open about it. If he had not educated his mediumship, perhaps he had committed suicide. It's as simple as that, right? So some individuals have this very ostensive mediumship that not only see, they hear, they smell, they feel the energy of the individuals there, and all that must be educated and the more important, can be educated. Again, I go back, Divaldo Pereira Franco being an example of it. Because if we do not, then we start to mix imagination, our own feelings, our own prejudices with the reality. So I think for mediums, for everyone, of course, Spiritism is such a blessing to educate oneself. And again, we had cases of, perhaps we don't even bring names and help us remember some of those. Now, individuals come to us totally tormented and disturbed by spiritual manifestations, and when they educate themselves, everything's kind of go away, or if it doesn't go away, it becomes no longer a disturbance, at least. I don't know if I answered your question, Anna.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you.
Okay, but now 10, no?
Yes. 10. Are such places always haunted by their former residents? Sometimes, but not always. If the former residence was an advanced spirit, it would have no more connection to its former abode than to its body. The spirits who haunt certain places nearly always do so out of caprice, at least those who may be attracted out of sympathy for certain persons. Might they affix themselves to a place in order to protect the person or family? or surely, if they are good spirits. But in that case, they never make their presence known disagreeably.
So that's the case of the movie that Sean said, right? Such places always haunted by former residents? I mean, every time they say the word, I'll always take it as a red flag, right? And the answer is sometimes, but not always. And most of the time, but not always, it's from a less evolved spirit. Less evolved does not equal evil. I have to say that 1,000 times. It's nothing to do, just less evolved, just not know any better, just not educated yet. Okay. And some will do out of good intentions and produce some harmful effect. Again, not evil, just not educated. Okay. And there are even those cases in which it's done by more evolved spirits. They were there to protect a loved one, to prevent a catastrophe to happen. But when that happens, their presence will not be made known. They will not present themselves. And again, more evolved spirits have difficulty in performing more physical phenomena because the perispirit is very ethereal to associate with dense matter. So they're there to help, to assist, but we may receive the inspiration. We receive the inspiration if you open ourselves to it, but nothing more than that. And of course, less evolved spirits who have a more dense, materialized perispirit may be able to perform some phenomena that will be sensed, they will be noticed by us through our senses. And those places will be labeled as haunted houses and so forth and so on.
Yeah, we have to think also that the less evolved spirits not necessarily are attached to their homes, right? They may be attached to people, to other things. So their home doesn't mean much to them. So they don't stay, even if they don't understand anything. It's not their focus of attention. In the end, it's the focus of attention of the spirit, right? So if all they knew was their house, and that's all they care, that's when they stay attached to it. André Luiz in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, when he talks about the primitive spirits, right, that lived in the jungle, he said that spirits that when discarnated there, they stayed there in the jungle because that's all they knew, and they are reincarnated there. They don't go anywhere because that's all they knew. So kind of a same relation we can make to a house. If it's all you knew and all you care about, you stay connected to it. If that's not your focus of attention, your focus of attention is someone else or something else, even if you don't understand what you're doing, what's going on, you move to a different place.
Yeah, in the book Recordações da Mediunidade, Remembrances of a Mediumship, not translated, by Ivone Pereira do Amaral, she tells the story of Pedrinho, who was a spirit of a young man, discarded very, very young, still early adolescence years yet, who keeps seeing him working in the garden continuously, and took her. She started to interact with that spirit. Hey, what you do here? Oh, I live here. I live here alone in that little house over there, and I prepare food for myself, and I have my garden over there when I grow my vegetables. And he was always working the garden. He was taking care of the thing. And he didn't know anything else. it took her, I'm guessing the number here, I don't remember exactly. I read the book a long time ago. I think 7 years to get him to understand that he was discarnate, that he didn't need to stay there anymore. They go back to the spiritual world. Again, don't take me the time of it, but it was a long time that she was preparing him so carefully to give him that news. Because that's all he knew. He was such a simple, unevolved spirit that it took us such a long time to be able to say, you don't have to stay here anymore. And it happened in a very natural way when the spirits who came and took him to the place and he went without any fight, without any problem. It's a very beautiful story, actually. That exemplifies that what John said. Spirit is there doing its thing. Ivone Pereira Amaral had an extremely ostensive mediumship, I could see it. But most of us would pass by over there, would do our business, would perhaps messed up his garden and even and not perceive anything, not know anything. All right, let's go. 11.
Yes. Is there any truth to the story of the White Lady? It is a fable derived from 1,000 real incidents.
12.
12. Is it rational to be afraid of places that are haunted by spirits? No. The spirits who haunt certain places and make disturbances are mostly trying to entertain themselves to the expense of gullible and cowardly, rather than doing evil. Remember that spirits are everywhere and that wherever you are, there are spirits right beside you, even in the most peaceful houses. They only seem to haunt certain residences because they find the opportunity to manifest their presence in them.
Thanks. So there is nothing of White Lady. I tell the truth, I didn't bother searching what's this thing of the White Lady because I don't think we should be concerned with it. Okay, but it's just a fable with perhaps, I'm guessing over here, the fact that spirits may sometimes come in dressed in the long rope most of the time, and that's how they come in. And perhaps gives an idea, perhaps it's a white rope, but very often that's the case as well. And creates this idea of this White Lady, but it's nothing to it.
Yeah, actually, I was doing some quick research here, and it's a type of a female ghost, typically dressed in a white dress. Many countries around the world have white lady legends, and common to these legends is an accidental or impending death, murder, or suicide, and the theme of loss, betrayed by a husband or fiancé, and unrequited love. So just looking here, Brazil has, Canada has, Czech Republic, Estonia, Germany, Hungary, Indonesia, Ireland, Malta, Netherlands, Philippines, Switzerland, Russia, all of them, United Kingdom, United States. It's called Susquehanna Screamer in Pennsylvania. There is a white lady said to haunt Rochester, New York. Lady in White or White Lady of Avenel in Virginia. So it's very common. In Pennsylvania, she's called White Lady of Whoopsie. There is in California, Calico Ghost Town that says the White Lady that have seen the White Lady close up, and she roams around the town. So just an explanation why Kardec would have their White Lady here.
I can only imagine how many spirits would metamorphose their perispirit to look like a White Lady to have some fun. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes right to the next question. It is rational to be afraid of places that are haunted by spirits. And the short answer is no. should more be afraid of incarnate than discarnate. No reason to fear discarnate at all. In the next chapter, we're going to see that Kardec tells us that we are all surrounded by spirits. And Kardec told that most of the spirits that surround us would fall in the category of frivolous. And that's what most of us are, not very serious individuals yet. And not crude, evil, bad, they're just frivolous, just want to have some fun. So most places that spiritual manifestations are observed are naturally by laws of probabilities, since most spirits around us are frivolous. The manifestation would be of a frivolous nature, with no intention to cause harm, no intention to enlighten us in any way, but just have some fun. Okay. Again, in general, there's always exception to the rules. If we go back to the case of spirits that seek isolation and does not want the presence of any humans around them, if humans enter that area that they decides to be their hiding spot, they may react in a way to try that humans out of that place. Or in a case of someone who is seeking revenge, spirit of course, may try to do things of a malevolent nature. But in general, that spirits are there just by law of probabilities, just for fun anyway. And if you choose to be afraid of anything, be afraid of incarnate.
Wow.
13.
Yes, 13. Is there a way to get rid of them? Yes, but nearly always what is done only serves to attract them instead. The best way to expel evil spirits is to attract good ones. Therefore, attract good spirits by doing as much good as possible. Then the evil ones will flee. Since good and evil are incompatible, always be good and you will only have good spirits at your side. But there are very good individuals who are nonetheless confronted with petty annoyances by evil spirits. If they are really good, it could be a test to exercise their patience and incite them to be better still. But don't believe that all those who always speak of virtue actually possess it themselves. Those who possess true moral qualities are nearly always unaware of them or do not talk about them.
Okay, so can you get rid of them? The spirits who are counting in a specific place. So by law of probabilities, again, these are less evolved spirits. And less evolved spirits need what? Education, need to be educated. Need to be educated intellectually, and by that I mean to understand their situation, to understand intellectually, they no longer have a physical body, that place suits them for nothing anymore, that they can get out of the place and go seek love the ones that perhaps are also there in the spiritual world. That's more in the intellectual side. And educate them morally. And the best way to educate them morally is with our behaviors, for example. So the best way to get rid of spirits of maybe cause some disturbance in a place is the practice of good. And Kardec says, well, but there are individuals that are good that I'm not walking around kicking dogs, and they suffer from disturbance in their places. And the spirits bring two possibilities over here. One, we think that we know people, and in our judgment to the best that we can, and unfortunately we judge individuals for being good or bad, through the lenses of our own eyes. But only we know how good and how bad we are. And only those who are called good are really good and are really behaving in a way that would educate spirits live in that area. And another possibility is that those individuals who are indeed really good also have their karmas, or also have previous responsibilities, secondary to things they have in the past. Now we have, again, you can use Divaldo Pereira Franco as an example with his shadow. What's the name of his enemies of the past? Was shadow?
Iron Mask.
Oh, the Iron Mask, yeah. Of the past who tormented him for quite some time. We can go to the example of Bezerra de Menezes, who was also being tormented by not one, but a group of spirits for things they had done in the past. And anyone who looks at Bezerra and Divaldo in that incarnation in which they were carry the name of Bezerra de Menezes and Divaldo Pereira Franco, would say without any doubt these are good individuals. But again, we always have our karmas. And another possibility that I think over here, again, use those two examples, is one, the ability that they have through their moral conquests to educate the hardest of the spirits. Those really difficult cases would require someone with the moral and intellectual, but primarily moral integrity of a Divaldo Pereira Franco, of a Bezerra de Menezes. Comments, questions? Now we go back to exorcism. We have covered that in our studies of the Spirit's book. Basically, going to be a repetition of what we already see in the Spirit's book. Well, let's read it.
Okay.
Just a comment. I think that
For sure.
I was thinking the same thing when you're talking about Divaldo's experience with an obsessor, right? If had to deal with that, even based on the immense charity that he was putting forth, I think the little ones over here would definitely have to deal with some sort of experience, and obviously to learn something. But it's incredible. Just think about the legacy that spirits like Divaldo left, and they had their own trials with spirits that were tormenting them. Obviously, there's a reason to stop the work, but also past experiences or past obsessors or spirits that you have to kind of come forth with. I think it's just very immature to think that we wouldn't have to deal or like work with spirits that we have affected in the past. So there's a very big example of, if people who are doing the good for the world on a daily basis have to face them, everyone else should expect to some extent to have to deal with their own, past enemies per se. Let's say, the spirits that you actually inflicted pain in the past or whatever that means.
Without a doubt. It's like Divaldo would say, and people would come to him and say, "Oh, I have an obsessor," and he says, "Oh, good for you, just one? Hey, you're doing great." But you see here, when we say that the divine justice will prevail regardless, these are two great examples. And we see how the divine justice is benevolent, that those very hardened spirits be exposed to the example of Divaldo, of Bezerra de Menezes. I mean, is there any better way of getting educated? There is probably no. It's only the spirit and only spirits of the quality of Divaldo, of Bezerra, could deal with those very difficult cases and deal with dignity So even the match over here of this so-called divine justice, and how it works, how the matches are done over there, that you carry the load that you can handle, but not only to purify ourselves from our karmic responsibility, but in the process of educating, of bring something good to others at the same time.
Thank you.
We're gonna go to exorcism.
14.
Yep.
Okay. Is exorcism an effective means of expelling evil spirits from haunted places? Have you ever seen an effective exorcism? No, you haven't. On the contrary, haven't the troubles doubled after exorcism rites? That is because such spirits love being taken for the devil. Spirits who have no evil intentions can also manifest their presence by making noises or even by making themselves visible, but they never do so to cause trouble. They are quite often suffering spirits for whom you can provide relief by praying for them. At other times, they are benevolent spirits who wish to show that they are with you, or finally, that they may be frivolous spirits who are entertaining themselves, since those who disturb the peace with noises are nearly always spirits who are amusing themselves. It is best simply to laugh at their antics. They will depart when they see that they can neither frighten nor vex you. The result of the above explanation is that there are spirits who attach themselves to certain places and prefer to remain there, but they do not have to manifest their presence by perceivable effects. Any place at all may be the obligatory or preferred dwelling of a spirit, even if it is an evil one, without ever having produced any kind of manifestation. Spirits who connect themselves to places or material things are never highly evolved, but just because they are not evolved, it does not mean that they're evil or fed by evil intentions. At times, there are even companions who are more useful than harmful, for if they take an interest in certain persons, they may protect them.
Okay. So if you take specific cases in which the church was called to perform exorcism, I would say, and I am saying that in general, those would be cases of spirits with malevolent intentions. The spirits were there really with the intention of disturbing and causing harm. For one thing, the church does its own investigation, have to decide if the case merit this process of exorcism or not, and usually are cases when things are going really bad. They have to have the priests who perform the exorcism, who are specialized, to take a course specific for that, and all those kind of things. So I'd say that in general, the cases in which exorcism happens is because things are really going bad with ill intention of the spirit. It's more than just being frivolous, having fun, and stuff like that. Now the question, does it work? We already said that what really works is educating, is teaching primarily through example. If the individuals who's being tormented by those spirits deserve through their actions what they are doing over there, and the person performing the exorcism are truly engaged morally in doing what's really best, it may take a short time that it seems to have worked. But very often, the activities return and returns with greater intensity than before the exorcism was done. And Kardec, in his Spiritualist Review, bring more cases of those things. Because in reality, what really in the process of disobsession, it requires education of both individuals, the one doing the obsessing and the one being obsessed. It's an education of both. It's a problem of two individuals that needs to be resolved. And it cannot be resolved by an act of literally violence that exorcisms offer. It's a violent thing of removing, expelling the spirit, getting out of here, cursing in the name of Jesus, and name of God, and all those things, and rituals. This does not educate the spirit. The spirits will, it's being reported in the spirits book even, that spirits watch those, the exorcism ritual taking place, laughing at everything that is happening. And sometimes it may take again, through merit, it may take a short time that things seems to quiet down, but then it returns even worse. So the process of this obsession in order to work is a process of the education of both sides. We have to start with the idea that both sides are responsible. That is not the good and the bad. Very often there is too good and too bad in this process. And it's only education that will resolve that. And then he provides a summary that basically that's what we said over here. That if we cannot say that every place is full of scarlet spirits, everywhere that you go, every house, every park, every cemetery, every abandoned house, every house with food with living people, there's spirits everywhere. Some places spirits manifest themselves. Some places that spirits that manifest themselves are attached or attracted to that place for many different reasons. Because of the place itself, they don't know any better, because they're completely ignorant of their situation, or they are attached to someone that is residing that house for different reasons. Again, it could be, I'm not gonna say, it could be with a good intention. They want to protect the individual, and again, hell is full of good intentions, right? And we see that in our mediumship communities very often. Spirits say, I can't leave him, I can't leave her, they need me, they need her. And again, the result of true good intention, but generating the opposite effect, opposite of good. But again, by the law of probability, since you are surrounded mostly by frivolous spirit, most of the different manifestation be frivolous. That if just ignore it, just go along with them, and they will tire. They don't have any real purpose. They have no real objective. They just want to live life as if life was a big joke. They get tired, you go on, and they'll go on. Comments, questions? Okay. Because now I'm going to start a completely different chapter 10, the nature of communications. I'm sorry?
We started next month, right?
Are you going to stop now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just going back to exorcism, right? The influence, the cases of exorcism that the church deals with are mostly cases of possession, right? When the will of the incarnated spirit are completely obliterated by the presence of the influence of the other spirit. Because the church has been doing this for centuries, there is some reason for it to do it, and it works in terms of separating, but it doesn't work in the terms of educating. So it's a temporary solution, but it is a solution nevertheless, right? Otherwise, they would have stopped doing it, right? So if we reflect on it.
Yeah, and most cases, even the separation is kind of temporary. If
Yeah.
the spirits are not re-educated, things return, and sometimes return even in at greater intensity than before.
I have a question on the view of what's the so many conflicting accounts, but what is it that you believe that's the church's understanding of the fate of those spirits that come to subjugate the living? Are they evil
Going back to
spirits that
hell.
they'll never get a chance? What is it? Because it's the conflicting, like if everybody's under God's view, right, and they believe that those spirits, they have no hope for them. Because I always, when I see an exorcism, it's like detaching the spirit and really never thinking about the suffering spirit, right? Just go back to wherever you come from. So to me, it's just like you're the rest of your existence is so, you're sort of in this prison of evil, and you can never be sort of like rescued. Is that the correct sort of interpretation of how they see it?
I believe so, right? I think that they think that they are sending it back to hell, where it came from, right?
There's no salvation for those spirits there, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just checking my own understanding because it sounds to me so like if they believe God is the omnipresent and the like rules the world, that means that those evil spirits have, I don't know, God has no power over them because it's just a contradictory kind of a narrative.
I think that they are sent back to hell, where they are going to wait the final judgment, right? So that's the understanding of many of these beliefs in Catholics and Christians. I don't know. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I agree. Unless they have some other teachings that they reserve for themselves, for the high orders that is not shared to the general population. My understanding is that once you leave this physical body behind, once you died, your destiny is pretty much, and everything that I had to learn and it's already settled already. So those who are still causing harm is because they escape from a place where the bad ones reside, and the exorcism role is to put them back in that place, and we would call it hell. It seems to me that, again, I don't know if there are some other studies that is not shared with the general population, that they don't believe that there is any more room to evolve both morally and intellectually once you leave this physical body behind. Now you are at the mercy of the judge.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I understood, and I was always puzzled by it, but I guess it's just a different. Like you said, they may have some sort of understanding, a secret understanding that's not shared, right? But I think that's what I had in mind, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Any more questions, more comments?
Yeah, hi Elmo and John and
Carol.
everyone. Hi, it's Carol here. Yeah, many years ago, I had a very interesting experience. I took a mediumship workshop, which was led by James Van Praagh up in Boston. It was held at, I think there's 4 Unitarian churches in Boston, and this one happened to be, I think, one of the oldest. Anyway, needless to say, it was a very enlightening workshop because James Van Praagh was discussing all the spirits that were still in this Unitarian church in which he had to work with even prior before the workshop to sort of make it not really an agreement, but to keep everything kind of in a learning environment for the people attending. And it was really remarkable because that church, before I even had heard James Van Praagh mention that there were numerous spirits still hanging out, I mean, I walked in and I just shivered. I felt it so heavy and intense. And I thought, wow, this surprises me because I had attended several other workshops by James Van Praagh, and it was always just peerless, perfect energy in the workshop. So this was a wonderful experience in a way for not only the people attending, myself, and also for James Van Praagh, because we were learning in the process right there of the spirits that were perhaps not the purest. Anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
That's very good. I mean, so this Unitarian Church believes that the spirits continue to learn and to progress in
No,
the world.
no, Unitarians are much more, they're not really like exactly Christian. They're just sort of more secular and believing in good works. So they wouldn't have particularly any interest in even noting that spirits were in the church, old spirits, a very old church, 1700s, 1800s probably. Yeah, no, their philosophy wouldn't match. It just happened that James Van Praagh had to find a location, and whether that was his optimum choice, that I don't know, but it happened to be, in a way, a learning situation for all of us.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I remember when we were looking for a place to rent a place for SGNY. We wanted to rent a place by the hour initially because we didn't have any resources to rent a definite place. It was recommended to us to look at Unitarian churches.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have affiliation with them when I was in the West Coast, so I've seen various Unitarian churches. They're much more secular and doing the good works in the time frame that we're living in. It's a very interesting philosophy in church. Well, I don't even know if they call it a church. I guess they do. Unitarians, Unitarian Universalists is what they generally name themselves.
Very good. Thank you, Carol. Any more comment? João, any announcement
Yes.
from you?
So next Sunday, we have this event called Dialogues on Mediumship, Ethics and Responsibility in Mediumship. This is a round table in English that is going to happen at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, our time, and it's going to be it's sponsored by the International Spiritist Council, and I will be there with Dan Assisi, with Stephen Bertozzo from the Irish Spiritist Federation, and Tiago Keller from the Allan Kardec Vancouver Society from Canada, discussing ethics and responsibility mediumship. So we're just studying the Medium's book. I thought it was interesting to share. Our regular study, which is the fourth Sunday of the month, will be the Q&A. So we'll have our Q&A at 11 a.m. This event is at 1 p.m. Okay? That's it from me.
All right, Carol, can the final prayer, please?
Oh, sure, definitely. Thank you so much, Elmo, for hosting. Thank you, John, and thank you, Sarita, for reading for us today, and everyone who is here participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for being together today as brothers and sisters for our study of the Medium's book, which is Part 2, Chapter 9, Haunted Places. Spirits do not really have preferences for certain days, nights, or specific times to visit their former graves. Our sentiments and prayers and goodness keep us elevated wherever we may be. Flowers, candles, pictures, incense, and objects may be helpful, but are not required to connect us to the spirit world or to the spirits. Certain spirits may have an affinity to material things or places and may not know that they have transitioned. Good spirits, however, may be attracted to a person or home in order to protect them or to be helpful. They never create disruptions. Exorcism may or may not be effective. Educating and teaching by example to the difficult spirits, and also partnering with the obsessed as well, would be needed to have a reasonable resolution. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all participants. Excuse me. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritus centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now and remind ourselves to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.